Eric, what I was thinking while you were in this discussion, in this thing of relationships between people, whether it's friendly or not, you have to, it seems like you have to, this is my opinion, you have to remember that time isn't in your hands. It shouldn't be in your hands.
How do you mean so?
Well, I'll give a little time illustration.
Sure.
It's already put. He came into my life when he was 8 years old.
Okay.
And I didn't have a negative thing necessary to him, but he was in my, after his moment I got married and we're dating, but he was in my life, I was his father, and Lucy and I we had talks about this, and I told her that I said, I have, not necessarily against him, but I said, he's not my child. And I said, my focus is not to hurt him. And I said, I'm going to stay out of it. Because I said, he's your son and not mine. And I said, I will support you. And I said, you don't need to report to me. But I says, I am here. I can't deny that. And I was like, we had some Butch will attest to it, we had some interesting conflicts at times.
I mean, a teenager growing up, especially with separated parents, and any teenager's rebellious, but when you have that situation going on, and you're pretty much, I'll admit, I was angry. I was an angry teenager, and you're angry all the time. Those conflicts are going to happen, and I'm going to tell you they did. But Sam was very patient. And sorry, I didn't mean to.
I just, no, it's all right. I just stayed where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had a issue, I try to deal with it very low key, and yet sometimes avoided it because I didn't want to make a deal out of it. Some of it I didn't understand, some of it I didn't need to understand because of the situation. And yet, I just let time go by. I didn't force anything. I think Butch will agree with me on that. And there were times we went for long areas, and I never spoke. His mother would do things with him, and I wasn't there. I was on the road, and sometimes I'd go months and never see him. But his mother was in contact, but I wasn't. And I just let that be. I just let it be because I didn't want to meddle or force anything because I just didn't feel it was my place to do it. I wasn't. There were times that I thought that I wish he could be disciplined different. But I just told Lucy, I said, I am not going to let him come between us. So I'm talking about relationships here.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple times that there was an issue had come up, and I just says, it would have been so easy for me to get in there and make a mess of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I ain't doing it. I said, I'm going to just stay out of it. I'll support you. And there was a couple times Lucy came to me and put her arms around me, and she said, Sam, thank you. I can't tell you how I thank you for not doing anything. So I'm bringing this up as an illustration of how we don't have to have all the answers right now. And there was a time that it was unbelievable to me that Butch came and wanted to talk to me. I'm like, Butch wants to talk to me? It doesn't make any sense. But he came up to the shop. I was working on my truck, and he come and he apologized for the way he treated me. I didn't even know it. I really didn't even know. And of course, I forgave him.
Mhm. I can see that. He's sitting there.
So we had our friendship, or lack thereof, and yet there we both were. And my focus, and I haven't really thought about it some of the time like I have now, but I didn't want to hurt him, and I didn't want to get hurt. I mean, it was just that simple. And there was a time I'd asked Lucy or somebody, she would be with Butch. And I said, "How's Butch doing?" "Oh," she said, "he's doing all right." I didn't pry. And then there was times that you know, Butch would tell his mom that, "Well, Sam did this, and this is good. This is good. He really helped me with who I am today." That wasn't my focus. I just stayed where I was. And then this thing jumped up ahead. This thing came with the church, the Journey Church, you know.
Okay.
And Lucy asked me, she says, "Do you have any problem with came with them? Do you have any problem if I invite Butch?" And I said, no, if you want to do it, that's fine. I have no problem. I said, "That's fine." So she did. And so in this, you know, this is over, you know, 25 years that I'm speaking of. And yet now, you know, Butch has said he can't believe that what has happened, and here we're both in the same thing together. You know, it wouldn't have had to been this way. If I'd done the wrong things as his stepfather, he could be 1,000 miles from here now. So sometimes, what did I do? Most of the time, I didn't do anything. I was just there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to Butch out there the day when he got here, I said, "This is something that after all our past, is here we're all meeting on a common ground."
Sitting at this table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes you don't want to force things. And there was times, yeah, I would have liked to have laid him over my knee and his little fella and paddled him. You know, I can't say I never thought of it. but that wasn't my place.
Right.
It
right.
wasn't my place,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything. Did I ever? I never did really tangle into you because it just wasn't my place. He was Lucy's child, wasn't mine, and at that time he had a father, you know, and I was not going to mingle in that or mess it up, and I did my best not to.
He definitely, there were lessons that were brought up that he did, you know, things like patience. I wouldn't be a patient person without him. I was very impatient child, but he helped instill that. I can't name them now, but there are other things that he has done that he may not have noticed or even was his intention, but just helping with those lessons, just explaining them or talking to me about them, I picked them up, and that's the way I am now today.
The amazing thing in this is that God has a way of weaving the right people into your life. And here's why I say that. That was your attitude for the situation. And it was the correct one because that's your person. We talked about being ourselves. You were being yourself and you were being honest and you were being true. Boy, there's so much about just being honest and true that just goes far. Okay? Now, there may have been other parents that would have been different. And there would be parents that would say that are of the same situation, that have success stories that would go, well, no, that's not the way that we really did it, but it's not what we needed. In other words, because of the differences, God brought the right person that had the right methodology. But there's not going to be one sure way to it because I've said this so many times, for as many different people as there are in this world, that's how many different responses you can get. Mm-hmm. Everybody's different. Everybody's different.
You know what?
But God knows.
one time, I forget the issue, there something came up, and, you know, I was bothered by it just from a, you know, just from a human standpoint. It wasn't because of who he was, but after it was over, Lucy and I were talking, and I said to her, I says, sweetie, why didn't you do so-and-so with Butch? You know, I said, I think I told her, I said, there's not a right or wrong answer, I just want a true answer, and I said, I knew you would give it to me. And I said, why didn't you do something about that? And she just said, Sam, I ran out of strength. I just didn't have any more to do it.
Well, I could hear a lot of parents saying that
And you know,
answer.
I says, I understand, and I said, thank you. Now I said I know how to look at it.
Yeah,
So I backed off. I didn't say, you know, she don't know. She's, you know, this is what I don't want to get, and I never let anything come between us because it wasn't going to happen, you know.
there you
And
go.
yet Butch, you know, and some of the stuff, my focus was not to change Butch.
Right.
I mean, seriously, I didn't say that I'm going to straighten that little guy out. I'm going to blah, blah, you know. That wasn't my job. And you know, one time I do remember, Butch he was angry and about me being in his life. I knew he didn't like me. He didn't like me there because, you know, and I said to him, I said, Butch, remember you and I, we do have something in common, whether you like it or not. And I remember he bristled, you know. And I says, we both love Lucy. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, he kind of quieted down. Because we did have something in
Yeah.
common, you know. So in this relationship thing, where, you know, all these things, you know, sometimes you just have to just keep our hands off of them.
There is not necessarily for the discussion of today, so I'll be very brief on this, but there's a lot of times where we will jump in the middle of somewhere where God's working and we really monkey it up. Instead of just be
Fools
be still and let God work. Yeah. I see you writing some notes down there, Miss Maggie. What you got?
Well, I'm thinking about Joseph and evil and the injustice that was done to him.
Uh-huh.
But from Sam and Butchie, I've learned from your discussion that one way to deal with this is just to be calm. Calm yourself. Don't go rushing in. And from Ted today, I've learned that if you focus on the bigger picture, that's important too, rather than just that little dot that's got you all upset. Just focus on the bigger picture.
Well, if I was
So-
organizing things, I wouldn't put the dot in the middle. That messes up get it up over to the corner somewhere so you still got the rest to work
So,
with.
I mean,
You know,
that's,
so in other words, what I'm saying is that I didn't want the situation, and I didn't think of it this way, but it illustrates, I didn't want this situation of either one of us having to turn the other cheek. I didn't want it to happen. I didn't want the first cheek.
Right.
Yeah. But what Jesus is talking about, see, it was something that you were able to control. But what Jesus is talking about is something that happens that you were at, but it was something that was out of your control. It just happened because you were doing the right thing. Hence, that's why it's a situation of injustice. You were doing the right thing. You were doing the right thing, and somebody ended up suing you for your shirt. You were doing the right thing, and a Roman soldier just picks you out and says, you're going to do this. What's our response going to be when we're doing the right thing? I remember I was down at outside of Ripon, Wisconsin, and it's 2 lanes that went into one. It's 35 miles an hour. That heading out of town, going west. It's 35 on Route 23. In case anybody wants to know where I'm at. 2 lanes focus into 1 lane, and it goes. Once it does that, it goes from 35 miles an hour to 55. And I was in the far left lane, and I'm driving by, and there are 4 combines. All the faster they can do is 30, running over in the far right-hand lane. And we're coming down, and they've got it all, and their heads are actually over into our lane. And they're traveling all together, 30 miles an hour, bouncing up and down. You're trying to get as far, so you're trying to get away from them. And all of a sudden I looked up and it's like, uh-oh, we're running out of lane. So I clicked the car down into gear and I sped up to go around. And as I did so, I noticed there was a car smaller than mine behind me. And I did it just fine, but I saw he was getting caught. Well, now I needed to get further so that car could get up safely and get in behind all of us and get in. I did that. Got a mile and a half down the road and there's blue lights behind me. And I'm like, can't be for me. I haven't done anything wrong. So I pulled over. Sure enough, pulled in right behind me. So I went ahead and got off the road. Fella got out of the car and said, you were speeding back there? I said, I wasn't really speeding. I said, I got up and got out of the way of the Ford Combine. He goes, yeah, he said, and you sped up to have to do that. And so I said, but it was for safeties. Did you not see the car I was trying to keep from getting killed? He goes, it's just a speeding ticket, take it up with the judge, and hands me a speeding ticket. Here's the other thing. I was going into a 55. I only got up to 55 miles an hour, and he still got me for speeding.
Mm-hmm.
How can you do that? Because I was going into a 55. Now, the main thing, as much as I hated it, I paid the ticket for an injustice, for doing the right thing. Now, I didn't ask the judge if the county needed any more money.
Oh, good.
They get plenty.
You could have had a bigger fine.
But that was an injustice. It really was. I did the right thing, and I ended up getting a ticket out of it. Now, even though I didn't offer the county more money than what they were going to charge me, I do have an attitude about it that I have to have. And that's what Jesus is getting at here, is the attitude. Now, we're running out of time. I want to get back to the other issue. Very quickly, we look into that mirror, and obeying is the primary thing. So I don't want to detract from the scripture, because we talked about how important it is to follow the word, right? And the word says is for a person to look in and to see themselves and obey it. But if you do, then you're like a person that sees themselves in the mirror and walks away and forgot what you look like. And so that's more of the negative stuff that we've been talking about. But there still is a part of looking in that mirror and seeing yourself as the child of God. Mm-hmm. The valued person that Jesus died for, that he loved so much that he went to Calvary and died, suffered and died. If we want to talk about his suffering, who wants to jump on that? Anybody got a comment about that? How do you see? In other words, nowadays, I'm hearing a lot of preaching that talks an awful lot about that. And there's nothing wrong with it, because we really don't want to detract from it. But that's all that it talks about. And we've got lots of people with inflated egos about being a child of God, but won't look at the other side and deal with themselves as needing to obey the word and his righteousness. How do we balance those two? Because I know other people that's all that they can see is, we got to get with the law. We got to get with the law. We got to live righteously. We can get legalistic there.
To your own detriment.
How do you balance those two? There is a balance there, you see.
The vision that I have, with the mirror, is this big hand that's behind my head, holding my face, looking at that mirror.
Forcing you to take a better look?
Say, you are not going to move until you come to some conclusions as to what it is that you are seeing. You're focusing on the negative because that's all that's in your purview right now. You're not going to be able to make any changes until you recognize that there are other aspects of you that are redeemable, have value, not only to yourself, but to others and to God himself. But you have to be able to see them. And this is how we're going to do that. And that's where I got in this program that literally forces you to look upon the whole of who you are and what you are and what you have been. But the one question that continues to serve me today, I probably should use it a lot more than I do, but the one question that serves me well, if I vision, going back to the mirror thing, I see my face in there and I say to myself, self, where would you be today at this moment had all these things not happened? If one of these things had not happened back here, you'd be a different person here today. So
Makes you who you are.
it makes you who you are. Can I change? Can I
shapes who you are.
Yeah. Can I change that? No. Can I learn from it? It's imperative that I do.
Anyone else? Yeah.
To basically go off of what Ted said, that's exactly the same way I feel about, situations that happened before. I could look at anything that's been bad or negative or things that caused me pain and be like, oh, this was a terrible time in my life. And it may have been, but at the same time, it's helped shape me who I am. Going back to what Sam said, there could have been a situation where they didn't end up together and they didn't end up being married because I was the way I was. But
Could have.
I wouldn't be the same person I was if I may have been at the time as a child happier because, this guy's gone now, but being 35 years old today, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't
want
be
everybody to know that?
Edit that.
Well, I will be in about a month, so it's coming.
There you go.
But I personally feel like I'm better off with having that be a part of my life. Yeah, there were struggles between us. There was whatever, but it shaped who I am. I'm a better person for having Sam in my life than if I would have been able to get rid of him as a child. And
Blessed. You've been, at the time, you didn't see it as
No.
the blessing as it is now.
No, because I was this snot-nosed 8-year-old kid that this is my mother, nobody else gets, leave her alone. And so now being an adult and seeing that, being able to see what I, know what I know, and having him give me the opportunity to have these things instilled in me has made me a better. I can't even imagine where I'd be, honestly, if he wasn't there to help put some of those lessons in my life.
All right, got about a minute left. Miss Maggie, anything to throw in?
I think that being open to whatever comes along, when I get up in the morning, I say, okay, Lord, here I am, put me where I'm supposed to be in somebody's way, or help me do this,
You want to get your way, okay? I like that.
and just show me what to do. Where can I be of help? Can I make a meal for this person? Can I do this? Can I type this? Can I balance this report? What can I do for somebody else? And then that takes away a little bit of my imperfectness, or imperfection.
Sam?
That's small.
Last word.
Well, we all are on our own journey because we all have a world of differences behind us.
Yep.
And there was a time in my recovery in dealing with what I was learning that I didn't look in the mirror because I had had so much negatives come from that I had to stop because I had to start dealing with reality, not my perception.
And your perception affected what you saw in the mirror. It wasn't reality, it was your perception. Oh man, we could spend a whole time just talking about that.
That's that word fear, false evidence appearing real.
There you go. Things like that to remember. Well, we could have ferreted out many more avenues here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So you guys are welcome back for our next episode of Where the Rubber Meets the Road, if you can. I invite everybody to come in that can be a part of it. I appreciated our discussion today. For the folks that are watching, I just want to let you know, did I choose the right camera? Are we over here? Oh, we're over here. For the folks that are watching, just want to let you know that you will be able to find this on journeywc.org. Had to think about that for a second. I would love for you to be a part. We have live worship at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday mornings. That's 10:30 Central. And they're interactive worship, and so you can be a part of what we do and be a part of the journey and be on the journey with us. And so we definitely invite you to do that. If you have any questions, please leave your comments below, and we will get with you on that. Love to answer them. We want you to be a part of this discussion, and that's what makes this a real thing. And so please participate. Thank you all for being here, and we'll do this again next time. God bless you, and we'll see you right here on the journey.